like to welcome to the podcast today, Connor Dube.
Is this real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, did we start? Are we starting?
I thought you were just practicing. I'm like,
no, I don't practice. We just go off cuff. Connor is a Colorado native and founder and host of the Mile High Mentors podcast and partner at Active Blogs, an industry-leading agency focused on LinkedIn lead generation and content marketing for highly complex industries. Connor started his first business at 7, developed an 8-figure marketing department while working his way through college, and has continued to build his brand around B2B sales and marketing ever since. Recognized as the leading millennial authority on business-to-business social selling and content strategy, he has been featured on top industry podcasts and resources, including the current MSU Denver curriculum on social selling. Oh, that's cool. Did you help with the curriculum?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you for
Thanks
coming.
for having me.
So
that was pretty good off the cuff. I totally realized I didn't send it to you till this morning too. Like I got busy. You hadn't
sent it, and I was on your LinkedIn. If I don't get it, sometimes I'll just pull it off.
Just make stuff up.
Or I make it up. There's a couple people I've just written their bios for them.
Yeah, I just started to learn just to like have people send it to me. I mean, I don't read anything in the beginning of ours, but I just like before we publish this, send it to me because me trying to just write this thing, it's like. I don't want to be a creative writer every time I come up with someone's new bio.
I work for a doula agency, and the owner, I had her write my bio because she's like my best friend, and I was like, you just write my bio.
Yeah.
And she wrote my bio, and I was like, oh wow, could you write all my bios for me? That'd be great. And so when I had her on the podcast, I was like, send me a bio. She's like, no, you have to write it. So I had to write her bio, and she's like my best friend. So I'm like crying the whole time, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Just send me a bio.
Yeah.
All right.
Bios are kind of weird. Because if you write it yourself, you're like talking about yourself in third person.
Right.
You sound like a crazy person.
It is kind of weird. It is kind of weird.
I feel icky bragging about myself.
I think it's not too braggy.
Okay, good.
So tell us a little bit about the business you started at just 7 years old.
My very first business at the age of 7 was very lucrative, very innovative. I sold rocks. When I was 7 years old, actually, I stole rocks from my neighbor's yard and my parents' yard. 9/11 hit and Twin Towers went down. I wanted a way to give back. So I painted patriotic symbols on rocks and sold them at a motorcycle rally convention, raised money and donated it all back. So
why a motorcycle rally convention?
This was my I was understanding channel partner marketing. And it was because they were actually already running a fundraising efforts for 9/11, so it was natural to go there. Yeah, just like all these like burly motorcycle guys, and I'm just like slinging.
You're
some
like, how about a rock?
Hi guys, you want some rocks?
How much money did you make?
I think I made $120.
That's awesome.
Rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to show you can innovate out of anything.
You can sell anything.
Out of anything, yeah, I can sell anything. I can say I started selling rocks.
Okay, well, yeah. I'm actually surprised you weren't like stealing people's snakes and sending them, because we were talking before we started rolling that Connor wanted to be a herpetologist, which is a reptile
study of reptiles. I think reptiles. No, I can't remember, but
expert?
Reptile expert or something like that.
Surprised you didn't.
I could have been.
I guess you could.
Maybe I still can be. Who knows?
There you go.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in marketing?
It's a very broad question, I guess. I started in marketing when I was 7.
That's true.
My first business selling, but I organically kind of fell into it. Both my parents were in real estate. So my dad was franchising Remax offices in the early days. My mom was, real estate agent back in the early days. So I grew up around entrepreneurial real estate parents. And so I was always at all the wine, mixers and I was like learning how to schmooze at a very young age. That's that cool. Is kind of what marketing is communicating with people and whether you're a people person or not a people person. So I've always had a passion for marketing and sales and just business growth. I started studying successful people and reading successful people when I was 13 years old. And I ended up going to school for marketing, which marketing just a degree in marketing is like a degree in common sense. Like if I had to go back and do it again, I would have done something different because I didn't feel like I got out of that degree what probably how most people feel out of that is I was in the real world building this 8-figure department running sales teams, marketers while I was 22 years old while earning my degree. I'm like, wow, none of this stuff applies anymore. It's very outdated. Yeah. So yeah. So because of my obsession with growth and business development and sales, like marketing is just a byproduct of all of that stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you've been doing marketing for a long time. So what has been the greatest change in how businesses sell their products and services since you've been in the game?
Nothing's changed in how people sell products and services. Like sales and marketing is exactly the same it's been for the past 100 years. I mean, we were just talking about this earlier. And the thing that's changed is the buyer has changed. Buyers change more than anything because we're constantly distracted. We're living a noisier time than ever. Like you try to have a conversation with anyone and it's 5 seconds so they're looking at their damn cell phone right off the bat, right? So we live in this constantly distracted, noisy world. Sales and marketing has probably not changed, but because the buyer has changed, the thing is you have to stay in front of people now more than ever before. So if I see your podcast, I have to see your podcast 6, 7, 8, 10 times before I'm like, I'm going to give this a listen.
Right.
Because there's so much noise out there.
That's interesting. And there's so many podcasts. And there's
so many podcasts.
Just so many
businesses. Yeah.
I mean, even just going through my inbox every morning, I have like 10 different things I could be reading, listening to, or doing the thing. And I have to decide like every day, like what I'm going to intake.
Right.
And it could be like one of those 10 things, or it could be 2 of them, but 10 seems ridiculous.
And you could have all the best intention to take action on one of those things, but then your kid comes into the room and you get, busy, you get pulled away.
Somebody calls
or
you get another email.
Or you go onto Facebook and you're like, I wonder how many people liked my last post. And then you get stuck, scrolling in the siphoned of the news feed and all that good stuff. So yeah, sales and marketing is exactly the same it's been for the past 100 years. The thing that has changed the most is the buyer. The buyer has changed. And I was fortunate enough to learn this very early on. I learned sales doing the most challenging form of sales that exists, which is door-to-door sales.
That sounds horrible.
And matter of fact, I've knocked doors in this neighborhood before, which is really funny.
Really? You're like, I know where I am.
Oh yeah, I've been here many times. So that was where I started working my way through college because I was on my own. My parents didn't support anything. They're like, you want to do it? Go pay for it. Like, go make it happen. So door-to-door sales was the vehicle that a friend was involved in. I started doing that, and it was one of the best sales learning experiences that I ever had, because I would go to somebody's doorstep, and of course they're so happy that I'm knocking on their door at 6 p.m. when they're trying to make dinner, and their kids are...
You've got kids hanging off of them, and they're like, oh my gosh.
I have seen the scariest things that you could ever think of.
I bet.
When it comes to...
naked people.
Literally.
I know.
Yeah, you must have listened to some other stuff I've done.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. No, I've literally come across a family of nudists in Colorado before. People who have I've had my pants eaten off by dogs. I've been just bitched out at doorstep and yelled at, and that's hard. You got to learn how to capture people's attention very quick. And you got to learn how to coax them and bring them over to the other side.
I always feel really bad for the door-to-door salesmen or salespeople.
They're making awesome money.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, if they're doing well.
Yeah.
But I always am like, I'm just trying to be super nice. Well, I just try to be super nice to people.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I want them to because I know that a lot of people are probably jerks to them.
Yes.
So I just try to at least be nice in my no.
Yes.
Or at least let them do their pitch or whatever before I say no. But, if I open the door.
Yeah.
Which is not often. But.
Yeah. And if you don't open the door, I mean,
whatever.
But
just move on.
Yeah, you just move on. Like, door-to-door sales is at the end of the day, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
In some sense, but I was efficient at it. So someone would put me in a cul-de-sac like this, and I would pull, double the amount of appointments someone would, that would eat up an entire neighborhood, because I would just really spend time consulting with people. And one of the best things I learned about that draws back to my context of my understanding of sales and marketing today is really that I'd go to someone's door, they'd be like, dude, what the F are you doing here? Like, you guys were literally here last week and we're just at the Home and Garden show and we saw you at the Home and Garden show. And isn't that your commercial on TV right now? And you just sent me a damn email this morning and your flyer is hanging out of my mailbox, by the way. But all right, I get it. Let's set an appointment. Let's do this thing. And that was like a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, whoa. It wasn't so much that I was there at the right time at the right place, which is all growing your business is. But this guy had seen us 7, 8, 9, 10 times before in multiple different areas before he decided to set an appointment with us.
So they just had the brand recognition.
Yeah, brand recognition. But anyone can have brand recognition on a Coca-Cola size scale or a small scale, like you're a small business, or on your scale. It just depends on the platform and the way that you're going about it. Right. So I went from there and I transitioned into managing one of their marketing departments, grew that to 8 figures in a year and a half. And I was training 25 salespeople. I was 22 years old at the time. So I was still learning a lot of this myself. But same thing, like I understood the value of the omnipresence, right? Omnipresence, showing up in multiple different areas, and then when timing's right, people are going to come talk to you.
I love it. And that's why we hit all those different platforms. So for our audience and probably for me, what is social selling? Like, what does that mean?
Right. What's your understanding of social selling? Because that's what I'm interested in.
I would think that social selling, I mean, in my mind, it means creating relationships with people before like giving them the pitch or before trying to sell them something. So in my mind, it would be, meeting people in a social situation and just getting to know them before and understanding their pain points and things like that before going to the pitch.
Yeah.
Am I right?
It's awesome. Yeah. I think that's great.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, social selling, just like content marketing is a buzzword. So content marketing is a very popular term thrown around by marketers. And technically all marketing has content. So technically all marketing is content marketing. Social selling does not mean to generate more sales through social. You go to social and you sell people on social media. Social selling is really where the marriage between sales, which people would kind of see as like its own department or its own, category, and marketing, which people would see as its own kind of pillar in itself. It's where the marriage occurs using social media platforms. And the difference is, instead of deploying it through your company's brand, like Coca-Cola, I always use Coca-Cola because they're a big company, or Microsoft, everyone knows Microsoft. It's done through personal branding and personal brand development. That's the difference in social selling versus traditional marketing.
So it's done more through influencing, like influencer selling.
Yeah.
Because they have because they build a brand around like their person, who they are, right?
The clients, no matter what, at the end of the day, sales, whether you're selling Girl Scout cookies or you're selling $700,000 SaaS product, is all relationship driven. So that's where social selling is amazing, because it allows you to bring that personal relationship touch to digital platforms that are kind of not personable because they're online. It's digital.
That's cool.
Yeah. So most people, and probably most of your audience, are not a Coca-Cola size brand, but their personality and their personal brands are the deployment medium and the deployment channel for their social selling efforts.
Okay.
So it's not one or the other. Cold calling is great. Email marketing is still awesome. Conferences, trade shows, but social selling is really there to close the gap on all the other activities that you have going on.
So for instance, let me just see if I understand this. So for instance, if I sent, let's say, because I'm a CPA, I wanted to do like a flyer or whatever, or a card or whatever. So I send that in the mail to a list of people, but I also go friend them on Facebook or go find them on LinkedIn. And make sure that I'm hitting them in all the touches. And maybe I'm sharing the podcast, or I'm sharing some blogs I've done or something. So that's how we close that gap. Like you can send somebody a flyer, but they don't know who you are. It's the more touches, the better, basically.
Exactly. Right. If you can rack up the familiarity, some people think they're amazing salespeople or amazing marketers, but at the end of the day, because the buyer has changed, they are in control. So it all comes down to timing and money and need and opportunity. Yeah, you can influence some other things, but at the end of the day, buyers are going to buy from you because timing's right for them. They're already doing 80% of the research before they come talk to you. So you happen to show up on LinkedIn. They saw a flyer of yours. They saw you networking. They saw your podcast. And then the light bulb goes off. And that helps to kind of shorten down your sales cycle that way.
Okay, well, I have questions around that.
Bring all the questions.
I have so many questions around that.
Bring all the questions.
So let's say that...
And by the way, this is... just so people understand, check it out. Just so people understand, I built this from practitionership. Yeah. So I came into my dad's when I left college, you know, I had an amazing experience building multi-million-dollar department. I was either going to go straight in entrepreneurship because if I worked for someone else, I'd drive them nuts, or it was organic for me to partner up with my dad because he was already in the marketing space. He was an innovator in content marketing very early on. So I came in as you know, hey, let's build this business together. And I stepped in and he's like, all right, sales and marketing director. I don't have any budget for you or anything. We just paid your salary. So good luck, champ. So I had to find a way to take that omnipresence that I experienced, and I learned from my experience in the 70 company that I saw go from 13 million to 72 million in 4 years, and bring it into a microscopic level to our small family business. I'm like, well, how do I do this? I mean, Facebook's great, but kind of quirky.
They're
it's not where
our
our
algorithms
clients
on us
are
all the time.
Algorithms are always going to change. Like, forget algorithms. They mean nothing. Instagram, Twitter, but LinkedIn is where the money's at. LinkedIn is where the $100 million company CEO is researching and educating. And we can't afford to spend money on ads on LinkedIn, but I can use my profile to interact with these buyers and generate, you know, open doors that way, because they couldn't afford to send me to trade shows, conferences. You know, we did some email marketing, but that only takes you so far when people don't see your face and everything.
Right.
So out of practitionership, I built this kind of context on how to take that omnipresence and bring it on a microscopic level to LinkedIn.
Okay. I love it. So I guess, my question for you, about, you know, all the touches on clients. So let's say somebody sends me a referral of, you know, one of their clients or a friend or whatever.
Yeah.
What is the easiest way to shorten that cycle, the selling cycle? So they don't know me from, you know, Joe Schmo down the, you know, or H&R Block or whatever. So what is the easiest way to shorten my cycle on this unknown person? What's the easiest way to shorten my sales cycle?
You mean with a referral?
Yeah. So if it was just like, somebody sends me an email and says, hey, this is so-and-so.
Yeah.
What's the easiest way for me to shorten that cycle? Do I go for them on LinkedIn? Do I send them blogs? Do I invite them to the podcast? Like, what is the easiest way to get some more of those touches in the fastest way possible?
Sometimes you can't. And this is where most small, medium businesses go wrong, is 99% of them are built over the years. Like, let's be real. Most companies are built from referrals, relationships, and networking, right? That's why networking groups are so popular, because you have a way to get warm people into your ecosystem. I'm like trying to find the words for
your
it.
Funnel.
The funnel, your
the
thing,
funnel, your
the thing that, you know, your stuff, right? Your thing, you're good. Yeah. So, this is why most businesses struggle with actual growth. It is more challenging to have a business that is small than a business that is large and has cash coming in the door outside of referrals and networking, because you can't control people's timing. Someone can refer you and say, hey, Frank, you should talk to Connor. He'd be a great referral to, you know, you might be able to help him out or whatever. And timing. Like he may be like, yeah, I love you. That's cool. But none of this is top of mind. This guy just introduced me over to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I can do some other things. Like I can follow up with him and consult with him and spend time with him. But I need to have my pipeline full with other people who are outside of my referral network.
Mm-hmm.
That's where social selling should come in, to fill your pipeline with people who don't know you.
Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
Because you can't grow outside of just waiting. Because when most businesses are working off referrals, networking, they're always going like this.
Right.
It's always an up and down. It's always a seasonal thing. Mm-hmm. It's gotta, this is what your business should look like.
Yeah, actually left BNI because I was like, y'all are blowing up businesses because these people don't know how to handle all these leads, which are generally low paying leads.
Yes.
Because everybody thinks they need a deal because they were referred by somebody personal. Or it's a really horrible fit for some service businesses, especially people who are trying to do something out of the norm at all. Like, I don't just do tax returns. Like, we don't just do tax returns. And
right.
People are trying to hand me all these just tax returns. And I was like, this is not what I do when I've explained that. And,
Right.
So that's the big reason I left BNI, because I just watched them blow up businesses. Like people left or like, they just.
Yeah.
Because of volume or because they were just drowning. And I was just like, this is not the platform for this.
Well,
like,
and it's not even so much that. It's that you're in a confined community.
Yes.
Like, community is good. That's part of the reason I built Mile High Mentors.
Mm-hmm.
But my best clients are tens of thousands of miles away from us. Like, we have clients in Australia, UK. Mm-hmm. So if I'm just relying on my referral and networking community to bring me business, I'm not going to reach the people with enough money. Mm-hmm. And it's actually selfish of me to not be marketing myself out in the way that I deserve to be marketed out, because I can actually help people. Mm-hmm. And same with you.
Yeah.
Right. If you're just relying on Colorado community to send you business, that's selfish of you because you're kick-ass at what you do.
Right.
And there's hundreds of other people out across the nation that could use your help.
Yeah. I think, that's kind of what I'm finding with these local networking groups. I love my networking groups. I love my community. I've had a ton of them on the podcast. They're solid people. They're some of the best people I know. But like, my business is at the point where, and you can only grow so far with the community, through your referral networks. Like, I could never meet enough people to get enough referrals.
When I first started growing our business, which we're on a roadmap to 8 figures now, mm-hmm. taking this small family business to mm-hmm. that point as well, is I was scrambling every week, going to this networking group, mm-hmm. meeting coffee with mm-hmm. people. Like, we can do everything we need to do in the beginning digitally, mm-hmm. save that prospect time, mm-hmm. then work the in-person relationships from there.
I love it.
So if I do networking now, mm-hmm. it's because I just want to get out of the house and make friends.
Or I just want to go hang out with people.
I'm not trying to get business out of it. If something comes out of it, awesome, but it's very rare.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you basically answered my last 2 questions. So what are your favorite strategies for working with LinkedIn?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it depends. It's more, I guess, strategies more what people need to know what they're doing wrong first off.
Okay.
So running ads on LinkedIn gets very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. Everything you need to do to grow your business to, you can grow a couple $1 million a year organically mm-hmm. from social selling. And if you're a bigger size company, you can do way more than that. Mm-hmm. But company pages focusing on my personal brands, mm-hmm. on my personal brand. Like, if you look at our LinkedIn company page, there's not a lot of content up there. Mm-hmm. And that's intentional, because I'm able to post a video and get 5,000, eyeballs on it mm-hmm. versus my 500 following on my company page that gets like next to nothing on that.
Okay.
But it's not even about views and likes and all that stuff's fluffy mm-hmm. vanity metrics. I really believe that because a lot of people are starting to dive into this now mm-hmm. and understand social media, like, we're on the other side of the adoption curve, right? Noise. Lots of noise. Mm-hmm. So if I could give advice to anybody, mm-hmm. it is that I really believe the most successful companies of the future are all going to be experts, specialists. Mm-hmm. So if you're a CPA, just like you said, you're mm-hmm. focusing in on a niche now. Mm-hmm. because you're seeing all the people that are like doing my tax return and like just throwing stuff in your face.
We haven't since day one, but yeah.
Yeah. But your content and your messaging on your profile should relay that. So if you're going to focus on women veterinarians, all your messaging on your profile should reflect that as like a micro website, an extension of your sales and marketing message.
So question for you,
Yes.
because I have a couple endeavors.
Yes.
I have the podcast, obviously,
Uh-huh.
and I have the CPA farm. Like, how would you craft a profile for both of those things?
What's going to bring you the biggest impact
Okay,
is your
that makes
business,
sense.
first
Right.
off, right?
Right,
That's
not
where
the
your
podcast.
money comes from. That's where cash
Uh-huh.
allows you to continue empowering your podcast. So lead with the biggest opportunity.
Oh, that makes sense.
Messaging creates meaning for people. So your profile messaging has to initiate meaning for the buyer. That's why when you look at me, there's a lot of different LinkedIn marketers and marketing agencies. And I always have this conversation when I'm on podcasts and stuff is how many marketers are there out there, right? There's tons.
There's tons.
Everyone and their mom is in marketing now, right, Steven?
We all look at Steven.
Yeah. Everyone and their mom's in marketing now. But I'm able to break through the noise by being a specialist, not everything to everybody. And I still work with 70 different industries at the end of the day, even though I lead with IT on my messaging. But your question was, if I do the podcast and I have, you probably have 5 or 6 different services and products and ways you're able to help people, which is awesome. That's where content comes in. Content creates context.
Okay, cool.
So that is where you contextually fill the gaps with your, pillar messaging. Content is going to fill the gaps with everything else that you want to be talking about, educating on, sharing, communicating.
That is really super helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
I now have a note to go fix my profile.
Everyone. Well, because LinkedIn started out initially as a recruiting platform.
Oh, right. And that's why I have to say I've been on LinkedIn for probably greater than a decade. But it was just on there so that employers could find me when I was looking, to be an employee.
Exactly. Now that alone, just changing your messaging on your profile isn't going to magically bring you sales.
No.
There's other pieces that go into place, which is why we built an entire training program around this. But the tools that are available allow you to be able to say, okay, my messaging is veterinarians. I can use Sales Navigator and target all the direct veterinarians out there that are on the platform or the influencers to the veterinarians. So without spending a dime on paid ads, I can reach 500 prospects every single day.
That's amazing.
For $70 a month for Sales Navigator.
I was going to actually ask you because every time I'm not on premium and I keep going, which one do I want? And
Sales Navigator.
And I keep almost doing Sales Navigator, and I was like,
premium's kind of a weird.
And
it's
I was like I'm gonna ask Connor when he's here.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, Sales Navigator is great because I've run ads on LinkedIn. I can pay tens of thousands of dollars every month to try to get in front of an audience, but I can use Sales Navigator and know exactly who I'm getting in front of. I'm able to get in front of them with my personal brand, so it's more human to human. And I don't have to go send them a shitty, spammy sales pitch or connection request. I can leverage all the touch points on LinkedIn to basically drive them to my profile like I'm driving traffic to a website.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love it. So it just fills the funnel for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a no-brainer. I love it.
Yeah. Funnel on a microscopic level. So you can build that omnipresence we talked about, but you do it in various different touch points on LinkedIn. Turn yourself into an
expert.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is your favorite content to provide? I know you do a ton of videos on the podcast, but if you were gonna sell a small business, like you really just need to go do this type of content for a little bit.
Right.
What would that be?
Well, I always tell small businesses that don't either have the infrastructure to get it done, they don't have the internal bandwidth, or they can't afford to hire anybody yet, is find one thing that you can use as your pillar content.
Okay.
So if I'm good at podcasting, I can do 1 hour-long podcast every month and turn that into 500 pieces of additional content, right?
Okay,
I can turn that into text posts. I can turn that into a video. Like on my cell phone. Like, you see me do a bunch of video, I use my damn cell phone for that. And that tripod right there.
Like,
that's it.
Right.
It's not, and actually those perform better than high quality doctored videos. Is just simply on your cell phone. Like, we have all the tools here. So find the one thing that you can really stay consistent with, because consistency is more important than like
actual like
how
quality.
good you. Well, quality is good. I mean, you got to have that balance. Yeah. But if you have to pick one in the beginning and you're just trying to figure out how the hell do I get this done, is what can you stay consistent at? So if I'm good at writing, I would say articles are still one of the most powerful things on LinkedIn, because they're permanently housed on your profile and they draw SEO value. So if you can write a 600 to 800 word article once a month, and then you can create 4 videos from that and 5 different graphic images, and I can read my article and turn it into an audio podcast that I do. It's eventually all of the above, because people consume in different ways. That's why I use everything. But most people are starting out. Find the thing you can be comfortable with, consistent at, and then build from that.
I love it. That's really, really helpful for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our audience, because it makes sense. And it's not that hard. Like, you just made it, like,
it's hard.
You just broke it down. Well,
it's hard.
It's simple.
It's not simple.
Easy.
It's not easy. It's hard. It is. Like, people want a shortcut or a secret hack. There is no secret hack.
But I think making one piece of content and then breaking it into pieces.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to write a monthly blog and then also be doing graphics and also be doing, all those things don't have to be separate from each other. They can be all off of the same piece of content.
Right.
Which, that kind of blows my mind. Like, I never really thought about doing it that way. I mean, we chop up the videos all the time. That's how we do the podcast stuff. But I never occurred to me to take my blog posts, turn them into graphics, which I had to do to create the blog post.
Yeah.
Anyway, right?
Take the graphic, write a little sentence on it, and then link back to your blog post.
So that actually simplifies things in my mind. I know you're like, it's not easy, but it does actually kind of simplify. You can take this one piece and just break it into videos. You could break it into all these different ways for it to be consumed.
Yep.
Those don't all have to be separate, unique pieces of content.
Yeah. So the part I meant that's not easy is just staying consistent with it is always really challenging.
Well, consistency is the problem for everybody.
And also, people get far too hung up on perfection. They never ever get started on something. Right.
I might be one of those people.
Yeah. Almost everyone is like that. Like, sometimes I record a video, I'm like, this is garbage, but I got to get it up there because the content's good, but I'm not fully satisfied with it. But it's going to impact. Like, I make content for one person. That's what everyone has to do, is they see all these influencers and all this good stuff. Make your content for one person. Just one person. This is for that one person. And find the one thing that you can keep in front of them. And when you're using social media like Facebook, you're using LinkedIn, make sure you're using it organic to their platform. So if I just take my blog post and I just share it into my newsfeed, or if I take a YouTube link and I share it into my newsfeed, LinkedIn's going to bury it right away. But if I cut a 30-second snippet of it and natively upload it, it's going to get 10, 20 times more reach.
That's really interesting.
Than just sharing out links.
Okay, cool.
But that also will get people to take action, go to your links, subscribe to your blog, download your resource, your white paper, like whatever you're kind of funneling people into. Yeah.
I love it. Or whatever your deliverable is.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of work to do.
Wheels are turning a little bit.
I got a lot of work to do, Connor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from this podcast too, you can write a blog article from your podcast and have it kind of almost co-authored in a way, have it transcribed, and then use that as your written content, and then take 2 sentences out of that and use it as a text update on Facebook. And then there's 3 pieces of content right there without having to put any thought into it whatsoever.
Think about it.
Yeah.
That's really helpful for me, because it really does simplify, creating as much content as we think we need to make.
Yep.
So I think that's super helpful. Other than the main platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, what platforms would you say are up and coming or underutilized? I know you specialize in LinkedIn, but are you watching anything else kind of come up?
I mean, there's always other things, but nothing that I can think of that matches the reachability, the scalability, and the impactability.
There we go.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We'll make that work.
That was good. I just came up with that on the fly. I'm very proud of myself on that one. That LinkedIn, honestly, LinkedIn is probably the most undervalued platform that's out there
at this point.
And it's been around longer than Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
But it's the most underused. When I talk to any peers, you said you talk to a lot of millennials and stuff like that. When I talk to anyone, they're like, yeah, LinkedIn's where you get a job and stuff like that, right? It's like, no, that's where CEOs and presidents and IT directors and people.
Those are your people.
It's there for business.
Yeah.
And people don't, they either go too much into that and they go and just send a bunch of sales pitches, or they just kind of see it as like, it's just kind of a place to like validate people are there.
I've got some
whatever.
of the weirdest sales pitches on LinkedIn.
It's like a page long. You're like, who are you?
Well, somebody sent me one and they're like, hi, we work with like the Latinx community and getting with mortgages. I was like, how does this apply to me? Or you? Or like, what does this even mean? Yeah. How am I supposed to help you?
Yeah, I got a message yesterday. They're like, hey, would you like a free marketing audit? I'm like, dum, look at what I do.
Yeah, I know.
So this is where people are like, I hate LinkedIn because of this. I see the most opportunity because of this. So what I do differently and what everyone can do differently who's willing to put the time in to prospect. So if you're ready to stop just relying on referrals and networking and word of mouth just to grow your business, prospecting on LinkedIn is so easy because it's the same thing you do in person, but you just bring it digital. So video is really impactful. I can send you a video on LinkedIn and just record my face. And I was doing that this morning before I came down here. Hey, thanks for connecting. Greetings from downtown Denver. By the way, if you're using Sales Navigator, you can see anyone I'm connected to. If you want me to make an introduction for you, let me know and look forward to building the relationship. That generates leads for me.
Oh, easy peasy.
I don't have to send a sales pitch because my messaging has meaning and my content creates a context. So I don't have to send sales pitches to people.
Right, because you can just say, hey, nice to meet you. Check out my page. If there's anything you have questions about or whatever, just hit us up.
Now, there's a time and place that I can do that when they've gone through my touch points and I felt I've given enough there that maybe they just want me to see if I can help. And that works too. But there's a difference between a sales pitch and a value opportunity. Exactly. Where you understand someone's pains, you understand the problems, and you truly can help them, share that with them. But not in a way that it's about you.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's about timing too. And if 100%. You do it this way, then people get to choose the timing.
Yep.
So they have control over the relationship.
Yep.
And when they're ready, they come to you. Which I find a lot of the time, if somebody refers me or whatever, it's because they said something about tax returns or tax issues and they just are like, oh, you should talk to Jamie. And that person's really not ready to actually deal with that issue or actually really talk to me.
They're just complaining like, oh, my tax returns.
Or whatever.
And they're like, oh, talk to Jamie. That's perfect.
Jim, and then it's a timing issue. And I'm not going after people. Like, I'm just not. If you're ready, you're ready. Otherwise, we've met probably. And if you liked me, you'll come back,
See, sometimes. Because I've closed significant deals for our company that I started talking to somebody 6 months ago. And they disappeared on me, and I follow up in the right way consistently over the course of 6 months. All of a sudden, timing's right. And because I was following up, they're like, oh, thank you for following up. I have looked at a couple competitors, just to be honest with you in this time, but we do want to go with you and get this done, and let's do this thing. So
that's interesting. So what does that follow-up process look like? Seriously, we're going to be here all day. That's fine. If you guys have going on, let me know. What does the follow-up process look like for those leads for you? I think a lot of people don't really know how to do that. I don't.
Yeah, it depends. Depends on your lead. Like, is it timing to call them? Like, Most salespeople, when they get an introduction on email, right? That's where a lot of referrals come from, or text message, or a phone call, and they leave them a voicemail. They use that one channel to continuously hit people up, and that's where people get annoyed. Like, oh, the sales guy's just freaking bugging the crap out of me because he keeps calling me every day. But if I call you, and then maybe a couple days later I send you a connection request on LinkedIn, and then shoot you an email, and then send you a video, and then maybe a voicemail again a few days later, like all those kind of touch points add up. They make a difference.
Yeah, I do find that I don't like the telephone. So if somebody continues to call me, I don't want to talk to them.
Right.
But if they send me an email or send me a message through, they could even message me through Facebook if they want, or LinkedIn, then I'm more apt to talk to them because that's how I prefer to interact. So that's really interesting. My wheels are
See, but most people don't want to talk to that salesperson because that salesperson only cares about themselves. Right. And they're selfish.
Well,
and they only care about their product and service that they're slinging, not the actual. They don't inherently understand actually, this is great. One of my favorite books, my good friend Keenan just came out with this book. It's called Gap Selling. Okay. He's actually local here.
We'll link it.
Yeah.
I'll Gap probably Selling go buy it because I have a whole pile of books I haven't read yet.
Is what we've been doing over 18 years. And he summed it in a book is really, you don't sell CPA services. You are selling a solution or solving a problem, right? I don't sell marketing. I help people to stop making massive mistakes on LinkedIn, and I help them to better reach and close more high dollar prospects. No one gives a shit if that's LinkedIn or if that's your email.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's the end result that I'm selling. So people don't understand how to work this into their marketing message, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile too. You can set your Facebook profile like this as well, is you can use all those to contextually focus on, have your messaging so you don't get those people who are just like, oh, you should go talk to Jamie because she does tax returns and stuff like that. And then they go see you. They're like, no, she helps veterinarians with their finances, empowers their finances, their financial situation.
You're going to write this all down for me, but yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is so super helpful. So tell us about your podcast and what's next with Mile High Mentors.
So Mile High Mentors, I started 2 years ago. I was born and raised here in Colorado, traveled all over the world. Yeah.
I'm
native.
Too.
That's awesome. Yeah.
There's not very many of us anymore.
Which I don't have a problem with.
Which is awesome. I love meeting different people from different walks of life and different upbringings and all that, but there's just not that very many of us.
Yeah. So question was podcast. Started that 2 years ago. We've started interviewing all the top influencers, entrepreneurs, subject matter experts I'm interested in here in the state of Colorado. So we wanted to build something very community driven because I see not where Colorado's at now, but 10 years from now, where we're going to be. Like we are now and becoming very much this global hub, right? Because you kind of have Chicago in the middle of the country and Denver is kind of that hub between New York and the West Coast. And you have Dallas, you have Chicago and Denver. Like that is the spot. So we're growing at such an incredible rate. So Mile High Mentors, you can find us on probably all the same podcast platforms as you.
I listen to them on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, so on and so forth.
All the things.
But the evolution of that is because it's such a niche platform, niche podcast. What I love about it is you can listen to a guest, and if you live here, they're tangible. You can reach out to them. But we wanted to bring that into a in-person ecosystem. So we're putting on a 2-day conference next year in 2020. I'm so excited. I know I've never done this before, so like it's new. Like I like doing scary things like that.
Me too.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
I have my moments where I'm just like, let's do the scary thing.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
Do the scary thing.
Therefore, I must do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's surprising how many people don't have that mentality. So hopefully this will help empower them to have that. Is 2 days, June 5th and 6th. It's called Mile High Mentors Life by Design. So we're going to bring in all the top. It's going to be completely Colorado sponsored, driven, Colorado content, Colorado guests, Colorado speakers, businesses, food, all that good stuff. and we're going to help you as a professional, an entrepreneur, a business builder to create a life by your own design.
I love it.
Because that's the world we live in now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to build a life no matter what your situation is with your own design, with your own freedom. So that's what we're going to do over the course of 2 days. Very excited about that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I love the idea around building freedom.
Yeah.
Because that's what small business owners should be doing.
Yeah.
Like, what is this going to provide for you in the long run?
Yeah.
And don't tell me it's just gonna, like, I actually had somebody I talked to and he was like, well, it's gonna replace my job. And I was like, you're just creating your own job.
Most people do.
Yeah, most of us do at the beginning. I think. But it's the people that don't realize that there's much more out there for us as business owners. We get to create our own lives. We get to design it.
Sometimes.
Exactly.
Some people are genuinely best taking a vehicle.
Oh, totally.
And riding that vehicle, and you have more freedom doing it that way than trying to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's very true.
Success does not happen in a vacuum.
Totally.
So if you can attach yourself to someone's vehicle, like we're hiring like crazy, just hired a new sales guy. Like I could not continue to grow on our own. I can, like, I'm a young millennial, but I'm in the top 1% technically of income bracket. And that doesn't matter. Like money doesn't matter because I don't have freedom with that yet.
Right.
Freedom is what matters. Like building your life by design is what matters.
Well, yeah, whatever it looks like for you.
Yeah.
Because that looks like something different for all of us.
Everybody.
Which is why I'm unemployable at this point.
I
always say that. Like, I'm unemployable.
Yeah.
Like,
but you have the personality and you have the drive and the tenacity to make it happen.
Totally.
Some people do have that, but they have different strengths. So maybe they should partner up with someone like you who has a vehicle and solve the parts of your business that you don't want to touch.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally. And so anytime I'm like looking to bring somebody on, I'm looking for somebody who is willing to do the stuff that I don't want to do.
Yes.
Like, you know, these are things I'm good at, but it's not really a good use of my time, or, you know, this drains my energy. Do you like to do this thing? You know, does this give you energy or whatever? Because the less amount of stuff I can get, the more stuff I can get off my plate that drains my energy, the better everybody else is.
Yes.
Like, the better my family is, the better business is, the better my employees are, because I'm a happier person and we're all happier when we work within our strengths and our energies. So that's what I always try to do too is, oh, you want to take that thing? Please take that thing.
Well, people have entrepreneurs, business owners have a hard time doing that.
They do. It's not
it's
like
a
it's
pride
easy.
thing.
It's not like it's easy. But I've learned that I can't do everything.
It's not. Yeah, no. I mean, no, this is one of the best things I learned. Fortunate enough was to learn early on is like nobody is truly successful. Like I used to think people would be these solopreneurs and these speakers and they're like these successful individuals, but everyone has success by surrounding themselves with other people who complement what they do, right? So like I love selling. I love selling. That's my favorite part of the business is marketing, selling, business growth, business development. I am passionate about that. But once it gets past the point of the sale, I'm like, all right, well, it's like a dog when you're chasing your bone, like you get it and then you're like, what do? That's why I built the A team behind me. And we have 20 employees that are servicing the client and kicking ass for the client when they come on board. Because that's not where I'm great. I'm skilled at.
They're great at implementation.
Yeah.
You're great at the upfront stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So before I ask my last question, what is the easiest way for people to find you?
Easiest way to find me, I'm on all social media platforms. LinkedIn's probably the number one I use most. Instagram I use quite a bit also. Just Connor Dube, Connor, and then Dube, Dube.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll also link the podcast and all that down.
Yeah.
In the description box for you.
You can find us on our website, activeblogs.com. We've built out, like, we've been in a services business for so many years. We've had so many people who have come to us who are like, I need help with this, but I can't take on your services. So we recently launched an entire training program and platform that helps with the same concepts we were talking about, reaching, closing more high dollar deals.
That's awesome. And it's just like an online webinar.
Yep. It's an 8-week online course that we're going to be selling for the next 10, 20 years, hopefully.
I love it.
We've spent the last 12 months building it.
That's so helpful. I know a lot of people are just like, I can't bring on the person to do it for me, but I want to learn how it works.
Yeah. Can't afford us. Like we have a whole team, and like we have the ability to grow and help more people, because not everyone's a fit for Done For You. So if you can do it yourself, then here's all the tools and resources you need to do it. And
I love it.
Here to help with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question, and I think you kind of answered this, but in your opinion, what is one thing every business owner should do or should be focusing their marketing efforts? So like one is if just brand new business owner came to you and said, I know I need to market, like what do we do? Like what would be your one piece of advice for somebody who just has to start marketing? What would you tell them to do?
Start building your personal brand. Make sure it's actually closing sales. I know influencers who have hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're not closing sales from their activities. So don't get hung up in the vanity of social media. You can be an influencer to 10 people in your industry. And if it's actually driving revenue for you, start with your personal brand. Start with the one thing that you can stay consistent with that's going to actually help your audience through content, and stay consistent with it. We call it the social selling snowball, because you got to pack that thing, but it doesn't just like happen overnight. Right. You roll it downhill. So stay with it. It will work for you, but you got to stay with it, and you got to have the right steps in place. And that's where, I can help guide you in the right path.
Awesome. Thank you. That was such good. That was such a good podcast. Hey y'all, thanks for listening. If you found this podcast to be inspiring, helpful, and entertaining, please like and subscribe. This helps us grow the community and reach more people. If you are interested in learning more about this episode's guest or accessing any of the books or other resources mentioned in this episode, be sure to check out the description box below. Until next time, be abundant.